Okay, good morning. We're on page 350. But
what's happening?
Yeah, but we have to recap. Baruch Hashem, a good day. We're on page 350.
Okay, it's a moment in life.
And
Finished. Yeah,
let's, guys, got to pipe down because everything's being recorded, and it goes up live. So I want everything to be smooth, please.
Gotta be in good behavior.
Yeah. So we learned yesterday the idea that when the Yetzer Hara bothers a person, the person needs to moshcheyu lebeis medrash, schlep the Yetzer Hara into the study hall. And the Rebbe then said, so what do you do in the study hall? In the study hall, in the beis medrash, you learn Torah. And Torah will help alleviate the pressure of the Yetzer Hara. What type of Torah? So this comes in continuation to what we learned earlier, that there is 3 levels of Torah. The first level being a level of Yegia, Va'avoda, effort and work. The second level being Yerusha, inheritance. And the third level being a gift. So he says, the first idea is that when you apply Torah learning with effort, it involves also a shaloi lishma. It involves also an ulterior motive while you're learning. And the Rebbe says that's acceptable, because the Chazal say, mitoich shaloi lishma bo lishma. You begin doing it for an ulterior motive, that's called shaloi lishma, not for the sake of Torah. And that ulterior motive will eventually turn into a lishma, just for the purpose and sake of Torah. So in other words, it's acceptable on this level of Torah. It's acceptable to do the study of Torah even for an ulterior motive. Whether it be because your wife wants you out of the house, whether it be because you want to have rabbinical ordination smicha, whether it be because you want to come to shul and show your friend you know how to learn better than them, or you want your kids to be impressed, or you want to get a job because with the Torah knowledge that you have. All of that's shaloi lishma. It's not for the pure sake of learning Torah. And as he brings here, what does it mean for the pure sake of learning Torah? He says l'shem haTorah. To draw down the Oyer Ein Sof in Torah. You're learning because you want godliness to be in Torah. That's the reason you want to learn. No other reason. But you're not there. Says the Rebbe that the first method of learning Torah, when you schlep the Yetzer Hara into the beis medrash, is a very acceptable way. Because that's the way we begin our journey towards honesty. Sometimes, and many times, and most times, it's very difficult to be honest right away. And Hashem understands that. And the Torah understands it. And they say, you begin slowly. Right? You begin slowly. It's like someone makes a calculation. Listen, I'm going to marry a Jew. Why? Because I want to have Jewish kids and grandkids. Is that the reason you should marry a Jew? Of course not. But otherwise I would marry a non-Jew. But I believe that the kids won't be Jewish if the girl's not Jewish, if I'm going to marry a Jewish girl or have her convert halachically, etc. That's an ulterior motive. That's not lishma. Nevertheless, what does Torah say? It's perfectly acceptable. Okay? So the first idea of Torah, to weigh down the Yetzer Hara, is shaloi lishma. And let me just for a second tell you that it's easy to make this calculation. If you take a few moments and think, what is the benefit of me leaving my house and the internet and the television and the bed and go into a beis medrash? Right, what's the benefit? You can find benefit. Your wife will be happy you're out of the house. Your kids will be happy. They'll see the father isn't wasting time, so much time. You could find justification and rationalizations that make sense why you should go into shul. So what we're learning now is practical, the first level of Torah. Okay. Then he said, V'hasheni, said towards the bottom of 349, 4 lines from the bottom, he said the second level of Torah is Yerusha, inheritance. And here he begins talking about a concept that, what are we inheriting? In other words, we're learning the Torah now, right? You learned Shulchan Aruch before Hilchos Shabbos. Now we're learning Chasidus. What are we inheriting? So the Rebbe says in the last line of 349, V'inyan ha-Yerusha hu sheyoshim es haditzutzis, the Sheva, next page 350, Malkoyin the Torah shenaflu b'shvira. We inherit something called the sparks of the 7 kings of the world of void that fell through the shattering of the sparks, called Shvirat HaKelim. Right? Now, what does that mean? It sounds very, very esoteric. And indeed, it is esoteric, but we will demystify the esotericism here. And what this means is that everything in the world is a byproduct of a godly spark. Everything. If there wasn't godly sparks in the tires on your car, I don't care whether you have Goodyear or Michelin or the best type of tires, those tires would be naught. They wouldn't even exist. It wouldn't be that you would have a tire and a tire would get a flat or something else. The tire wouldn't be. Right. The same is true for every aspect in this world. Unless there is what we call a nitzutz eloki, Yoni, the word is nitzutz, a spark, a godly spark, or the plural, nitzoitzos or nitzutzos, sparks. What are these sparks? Where are the spark plugs? We have spark plugs here. What's going on? So we demystify it. We use Kabbalistic language to understand the reality. So we demystify the sparks. Sparks are a spark. You know what a spark is. A spark comes from somewhere. It comes from something, and it's real. Is a spark real or imaginary? It's real. So when the energy of Hashem was overbearing, and the place that contained the energy could not contain the energy anymore, what happened? The energy split, cracked the receptacle that the energy was in, and it shattered all over. It's like pieces of glass that shatter and fall all over, and if the glass in the kitchen breaks, you have glass in the dining room, glass in the kitchen, glass here, glass there, glass everywhere, right? Those are called sparks, chips. So too.
Rabbi, like the Tesla. Rabbi, it's like the Tesla.
Right, like the Tesla the other day. So too, when godliness, when the Koyach Hashem, the Oir Hashem, these are different names used in Kabbalah. Oir Hashem, the light of Hashem, the Koyach Hashem, the Nitzutz Eloki, it's all synonymous. In this vein, it's synonymous. When it comes into the world, and the world is not a vessel for this holy energy, it shatters and it goes all over. And guess where it ends up? It ends up everywhere on earth, in every item that's created on earth. It has a godly spark. Now, it's our job to reunite and reconnect the godly spark with Hashem, with God, where it came from. Remember, it was one wholesome godly energy, and now this godly energy split and sparked into pieces, kind of, and what we have to do is bring them together. That's called Avodas Habirurim, the activity of refinement. Refining the sparks, meaning take the apple, make a bracha, say the bracha slowly and carefully, think about what you're saying, and eat the apple with the intent of bringing together the spark and the apple with the godly energy, vis-a-vis you're eating this and becoming an abode to a healthy, satiated person who can continue functioning through the day because you have eaten the apple. That is the notion of birur hanitzutzis. Birur means refinement, hanitzutzis of the sparks. So the Rebbe says here that Yerusha means that we inherit these sparks from the 7 kings who had a war, right? You know what we're talking about. And these kings, and they kind of resulted in a breakup. And a breakup in the sense that we need to reunite it to its source. So he says good morning, ladies. So he says that the shaydish of the kings that governed in Eretz Edom before there was a Jewish king is this high energy of godliness that wasn't able at the time to fit into the Jewish experience, and it came through the 7 non-Jewish kings. And by the way, this is a general concept. Why is it that we go through why are we governed and dominated by non-Jewish kingdoms, by non-Jewish governments? So the Holy Zohar says that the way of the world is that Rishoyim Goyvim Boy, the wicked dominate. But not that that's Hashem's purpose. Hashem's purpose is that we transform the wicked to be good. So too, we take these sparks that have fallen all over, and our job is to elevate the sparks all over. So, and then he continued in the Maamarim. This is why we have tzitzis that come from Tzemer Gashmi, from physical wool. Tefillin comes from physical cloth, parchment. And the 4 species of the lulav and the sukkah come from vegetation. So, what's the reason? Why? Because the reason is that the energy within the gashmius, the physical material matter of the universe, requires and needs us to put the two together, to extract the spark of godliness in the item and reunite it with Hashem. So in Kabbalah, they use the word Shviras HaKelim, right? There is the Or Ein Sof, the infinite light of God, and then it was too powerful and it shattered and it caused what's called the breaking of the vessels. So that sounds very mystical and is mystical. But when you demystify it, it's a very practical thing and nothing to get scared of, and it's very real. So this, the Rebbe says, is the second experience when you schlep the Yetzer Hara into the Beis Medrash, right? Moshchei the Beis Medrash. There's the second idea of learning Torah, where Torah is a Yerusha. It's an inheritance. In other words, we have it in ourselves to be able to extract the sparks wherever we are. And that's what I was telling Lazy yesterday. He was out at Carrefour, wherever you are, whatever you're doing over there. Yeah, you think you're on a vacation, and you are on a vacation. But at the same time, you're elevating sparks. You have the opportunity to elevate sparks. So when you stand up, you say a Dvar Torah, you're giving sparks. When you're on the ship and you're sharing something positive and doing something positive, you're elevating the sparks. Yes, Hillel.
In the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, I think it says B'Shem Hillel, learn Torah ke'ein Yerushalayim l'cha. Can you something like that? Can you explain it al pi Chasidus?
Yes. So he quoted it. Turn back to 349, please.
Okay.
Look 4 or 5 lines from the bottom. I guess you didn't chazer it yet. V'zeu inyan hayigia b'Torah shal ze omer. That's the reference to Pirkei Avos. Ki eina Yerushalach. Why not? Shetovai below Torah v'yigia. In other words, that's what we're learning in Hillel in this Maamar. There's three different aspects to Torah. So when it says in Pirkei Avos she'eina Yerushalach, it's referring to that aspect of Torah that's Yegiah, that comes through effort. Okay. Now let's go back to page 350 and continue from where we left off. So it will frat. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines from the top and middle of the line. What? He says specifically when it comes to this activity of refinement, when it comes to the 4 exiles that we went through, B'shibud Malchuyos, when the nations enslaved us and governed us. Dichsiv, it says, Ki ka'ar beruches hashomayim peirasi eschem. Like the 4 sides of the world, of the heaven, peirasti eschem. I spread you apart. So he brings the verse that supports the idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, God Almighty, disseminated us all over, the purpose being to elevate the sparks. Now here's a rhetorical question. Although the Chazal say, Masechtas Psukim, page 87, quote, Hashem did a righteousness, a tzedakah, a good act, that he dispersed us, shepizron, he dispersed us, lebein ha'umos, amongst all the nations. Why did he what's the, ladies, do you know the pshat? It said Kipirish Rashi. What's the tzedakah? You remember? What's the tzedakah? What's the tzedakah?
I don't remember, but it could be that the tzedakah is to the Umas Oilam, lav dafka to us. Every place that Klal Yisrael has been, we brought a tremendous advantage to the Umas that we've been in, even though we've been kicked out of 80 countries.
Well, it's a nice pshat what you're saying, but it's not. I don't believe that's Rashi's pshat, because the pasuk says, again, your drasha is a nice drasha, but the pshat in the Gemara I believe is like this: that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did a tzedakah to Am Yisrael. You're teaching he did a tzedakah for the goyim. Tzedakah HaKadosh Baruch Hu im Yisrael. So that's the literal meaning. What was the tzedakah? So the Gemara says that when the goyim will hurt us and try to annihilate us, they won't be able to, because there will always be Yidden somewhere in the world. How? Because Pizrin Beina Umas.
This is a phenomenal part. I have to say the Kitzur Rav, because I don't want to steal the time. The famous kasha is, don't be matzalenu miyadam, but stop having him want to kill us and destroy us. So I heard a beautiful mashal over, and the mashal was said actually by the former chief rabbi's son, Rabbi Lau, because this guy Irish Schwartz, who was staying in Rahavi in Lawrence. He said that there was a king who was extremely beneficent for all of his arms. And he was very giving and very loving. And he made for them a beautiful park like nobody ever saw in the world. And it had anything and everything that anybody could want. And he decided, against the advice of all of his advisors, that he's going to open this park to all of his people, instead of it being kept for himself. Originally, it was supposed to be only for himself and maybe for his family to enjoy. But he was so loving of his people, he opened the park for the whole world, for all of his kingdom to enjoy. So his advisor said, are you nuts? Are you crazy? You can open it to everybody. And he said, look, I don't want to hear from you. I'm the king. So the maskana was that one day a year, it was closed just for the king. The rest of the year was open for the whole world. On that one day, as it approached, there was one law that if anybody disgraces the king's park because he spent a fortune on it, there's a huge stone right at the entrance of the Disney World, and this big stone would crush the head of anybody who's mevazer the king's park. The big day comes that they're going in, that the king is going to come to see his park.
after 364 days that the ganze Medina has been using the park. And on that big day, as the king is coming, the advisors are hysterical. They're going nuts because they see that there's graffiti in the park. And they look high and low, and the king comes in, and the king sees this graffiti, and he says, whoever did this graffiti, we have a rule that anybody who made this graffiti is going to be off with his head. We're going to destroy his head with this big rock. And he sends out all types of investigators to find, and Lu Yitzuri finds at the end that the destruction of the park was done on his bincha b'charcha, his own, very own oldest son. Wow. So now he's stuck. What am I going to do? On the one hand, the Gezeres HaMelech has to destroy my one and only son. On the other hand, it's my son, Rachmanis. I need him, I love him, he's my Irish. What am I going to do? He goes back to his advisors, and they say, listen, if you're not the kind of Divrei HaMelech, nobody will ever listen to any of your Gezeres. You have to destroy him. The king was a very smart man. He had one advisor. He turned and said, what's the solution? He said, the solution is you take this huge rock, you bring a big bulldozer, you break it into 1,000 pieces, and every day you're going to put one pebble from that rock on your son's head. He says, and that was what happened. Klal Yisrael received the Torah, and we brought a Eidel Azov, we were Vaza, the Rabbi Yosef. So the Rabbi Yosef, instead of destroying Klal Yisrael all at once, every year he puts another rock on our heads. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu saves us. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, Yasher Koyach. First of all, you gave me a breather. Thank you. And second of all, it's a beautiful vart. Really, thank you. So anyway, that's the Pirush Rashi in the Gemara. The Pirush Rashi is that the chesed HaKadosh Baruch Hu did, the kindness God did for us, that He dispersed us amongst all the goyim, is so that there will always be a Jew left. Shalom Aleichem Reb Tzemach. But Chasidus adds another kvetch, another diuk, emphasis, that the tzedakah is that wherever you are, you have an opportunity to elevate the world. So that's why Kadosh Baruch Hu put you there. Again, that's not Rashi's a commentary. That's a commentary brought in Chasidus. That the Eibishter did a tzedakah with us by dispersing us to South Africa, to China, to here, to there, everywhere, so that over there you can elevate the sparks, and if you can elevate the sparks, you need to elevate the sparks. Avo, b'chol zeh, nevertheless, harihu golos upizer. What was the question? He said vagam. You know, when you see the word vahagam, you know it's a rhetorical question. So what's the question? He said before that this idea of being dispersed is from Hashem. He brings the verse. So then he says, but wait a minute. It seems like from the Gemara that it's not that way. That it's that the reason we would that the disbursement is so that we shouldn't be we should be killed completely and annihilated. Meaning that if Hashem had a choice, He wouldn't do that. In other words, it's like an afterthought. So his answer is nevertheless, even though there is a positive twist to why we were dispersed all over, at the end of the day, it's Golus Upizur. And I think that this is, it's Golus and disbursement. And just a second, Hillel. I think it's a great insight. As much as we see the relevance and the importance of being here and there and everywhere, right? And we're learning how we have an opportunity to elevate the situation. Disbursement is disbursement. The pizur, scattered. A scattered brain is a scattered brain. When you're scattered, you're scattered. I'm sorry. You're telling me that being scattered has a virtue as well. I agree. And a very important one. But at the end of the day, you're scattered. So this is the Rebbe's kind of insight that being scattered, there must be something greater why Hashem allows us to be scattered. You can't say the reason why Hashem let us be scattered is just for survival. Okay? Listen to the point. It's not just for survival, it's for thrival. There's no such English word. Not just to survive, but just to thrive. Hilo, go ahead and then I'll continue. Go ahead.
I just wanted to comment, combining elements of both words, that it's dafka interesting that it's the very idea of Am Mefuzar that Haman takes to bring a decree on Klal Yisrael.
That's right. Exactly.
That they should be destroyed because we are Mefuzar.
That's right.
That's part of his argument.
So he says, thank you, Hilo, for the word. So it said, as our sages say, quote, Kishem she'efshar la'olam b'lo ruchos, kach yefshar la'olam b'lo Yisro. Chazal say, just as it's impossible for the world not to have winds are necessary, so too the world cannot exist without Jews. Now, again, there is the literal way of understanding that Chazal, that Jews are necessary to be in the universe. I told you I'm going to do some filming Hashem in a week and a half or 2 weeks in Poland. So there's a city called Otwock. Otwock is where there was a Lubavitcher yeshiva pre-war from 1935 to 1939. So yesterday I was speaking to a guide who works at the museum, was going to help me. So he tells me, I don't think in Otwock there are any Jews left. I'm convinced, I can't argue with him because I don't have the facts, but I'm sure there is a Jew living somewhere in Otwock, there's no question about it. So what's the point here? Look at the way the Rebbe interprets this Chazal. It's very beautiful. The fact that the world cannot exist without winds, hakavana, the intent of that Chazal is the olam uloshen helem. The word olam, which means world, is associated with another Hebrew word, which is helem. What does helem mean? Concealment. So beruchos perush hakbola, winds, perusha, its meaning is limitation. In other words, the sides of the world, which is like the winds of the world, east, west, north, south, etc., up and down, all of that limits the world. So the Chazal are saying, in other words, just as the world requires for it to be a world, it requires limitations. If we come into a world without Hagbolah, it's chaos. And children don't like chaos, and we shouldn't like chaos. It's wild. It's a wild jungle. So what does Hashem do? He puts the jungle out there somewhere, and he says everywhere else it's civilized, because there are ruchos, there are hagbolas. So now goes the simile. So the Chazal say, just as the world requires these ruchos, continue now inside, hinikach, just as a concealment cannot be without a limitation, the limitation is created because there is, the concealment is created because there is limitation. The world cannot exist without Yidden, without Jews. The Yisrael mavirim es hahelem, because the Yidden, they remove the concealment. So that's why there is helem in the world. Olam eloshen helem. Olam is associated with the word concealment. How do you remove the concealment? Says the Chazal, the world needs to have the Yidden to remove the concealment. Through the study of Torah, the Yisrael hu Rosh Tevis. When Yidden study Torah, they remove the concealment. And why Yidden? So he says, because the word Yisrael, Yud Sin Reish Aleph Lamed, is an acronym, it's a Rosh Tevis, quote, Yesh Shishim Ribuy Oisis L'Torah. There's 600,000 letters in the Torah. That's the acronym of Yud Sin Reish Aleph Lamed. So in other words, Yidden are the 600 embodiment of the 600,000 letters of the Torah. And through the light of Torah, we illuminate the darkness of the world. And my friends, this is what it means. Wherever you go, don't think we illuminate the world through our great genius and mind, and it's through learning. That when you learn Torah, wherever you come, you illuminate and make that area that's been dark, bright. And this is what he gets back to, that he began at the bottom of the last page. This is what we call the activity of refinement. That when you learn, you're refining the world. Through the study of Torah, we gather the sparks that fell into the universe, into the world, through the shattering of the vessels. Like we explained earlier, the concept is brought in the Kabbalah, Shviras HaKelim, Umesirim, and we remove Esahelim Vehester, the concealment. So he puts it all together at the end, that this is the second level of Torah. The second level of Torah is the Yerusha level. What did we inherit? We inherited Torah. What is the purpose of this Torah? To illuminate the world, to remove the darkness, and that is the process of refinement. So what we walk away with at this point in the Maamar is that we have two levels of Torah, two experiences. One is with effort, right? Like you quoted before, Hillel, She'ena Yerusha Lach. This is not an inheritance. This you have to work at. Over here, it lends itself for your own interpretation and your own ulterior motive. And we say, Shalei L'Shma, Bo L'Shma. Then there's another level of Torah, which over there, it's not my own shtick, my own ulterior motive. Over there, it's the purity of Torah. It's a Yerusha. A Yerusha, you get the thing the way it is. You know, in a Yerusha, an inheritance, whatever your parent leaves over for you, that's what you get. Then you start working with what you got. But when you get the Yerusha, we're not talking about what you do with the Yerusha. When you inherit the Yerusha, it is the exact way your parent left it for you. So in other words, over there is no place for, I don't like this inheritance. Hey, father, sorry, son, I'm going to decide how much I want to leave over for you or what I want to leave over, and you have no say in the matter because it's mine. That's what a Yerusha is. So what is that as far as what we're learning? That means the idea that the Torah that you learn is given to you from Hashem, and it's put into the world, and now your job is to find it and explore it and refine the world. But you'll say, well, I don't like it to be this way, that way. It's not up to you. That's another aspect of Torah. So these are complementary aspects of Torah, but they're in a way divergent in what they demand of the person. One demands creativity and independence. One demands acceptance and obedience. So it's two different notions. And I think it's important to understand it's not a contradiction. There is an aspect of Torah, what we call in the world of Torah, chidush, to be mechadesh, to create a novelty, a chidush. And then there is the idea of Kabbalah, Satorah, the receiving of the Torah, where what you're doing is you're not looking to be mechadesh, you're looking to receive and clarify and understand. But the emphasis is not on the chidush. And I would say that these are the two aspects of the two types of Torah learning that he describes here in the Maamar, one being the Yegia type, and one being the Yerusha type. Moshe, you wanted to ask something.
No, it's just clarifying those 2 points. One is Yerusha, you can't alter that. The other is you define that.
The other one is Yegia, effort. Effort meaning that Hashem gives you the room and wants you to explore and to create, to be machadish. That's another part of Torah. And I think they each one taps into another part of your being. You understand? In general, you find some people who are creative. Then you have other people, they don't come up with the idea, they develop the idea. They're strong in analysis. So you have people who are very comfortable doing computer work and analysis, sit at a desk, and then there are people that can't do that, but they can sit back on their couch and they can just go like this and come up with a great idea and boom, and they go with it. That's, the entrepreneur, the creative one. That's one type of mind. Another type of mind is more you can count on me. It's the difference between a bird soars on high, it flies here and there, but it's here today, gone tomorrow. A tree is rooted in the earth. It's pretty boring, but it doesn't go anywhere. It's there. You can count on it tomorrow because it has its roots.
Depend on them.
So, you could think of it, Hillel, the type A, the type B, in psychological terms, and each one has its virtue. And what we're learning is here that when we learn Torah, it's important to identify with both aspects and to go with it. Everyone have a good day. Yes?
One question. When the Rebbe referred to Eretz Edom and the Malchei Edom, was there something unique and special that the Rebbe was looking to plug into about Edom? The reason I ask is because I'm deeply bothered this week, and I'm trying to develop a art that we just spoke about. Because at first it says, Nizid, then it says Adoima Zeh, then it says Lechem Nizid Adontim. Why the Torah goes in 3 different times in 3 different ways to describe this story? So I'm wondering what's the connection to Edom. So I was thinking maybe because we're still in Golos Edom, you had Golos Mitzrayim, like the Rebbe spoke about yesterday. You had Golos Mitzrayim, then you had Golos Babel, and you had Golos Paras, and we're still in the long Golos Edom.
Right.
So maybe. What's going on here? What's he dwelling with Edom?
No, here he's referring. This is a concept in Kabbalah and Chasidus that the Malchus Edom represents negativity, klipa, and when the energy of Hashem shatters because the world is not a receptacle, it creates the negativity and it gives them reign and government. It gives the Edom. And the idea is to transform that. That's what he's referring to here. It's the iron Sof is shattered, and it's what happens. What's created is called Shviras HaKelim. So, and the result of that is that there is this very high energy. Chasidus says, Laser, that I believe that the Eretz Edom, that Edom really in Shoresh is a very high shoresh of godliness, but when it comes into the world, it expresses itself in a negative way. So that's what he says here. So how it connects to what you're saying, Dalfin Trachten, I don't know. I have to think about it.
I was thinking that basically, Rashi says that the Nizir Adoshim was an Avelis Yaakov. I was thinking that Esav himself was in Avelis, because Esav, he realizes that he's giving up Esav was a Ben Torah, he was a Talmud Chacham, he knew everything.
Right.
That's why the Rosh ended up in
Yeah.
So he knew everything, but he chose to go away from it. So maybe this Lechem and the Zina Adoshim was a Suda on himself, that he was, Yaakov on the one hand wanted to be Kaveh Suda in order to make the Mechira Chal. But on the other hand, Esav Dafka wanted to eat from the Adoshim because he was being dishonored over that which he was giving up. He was giving up Shlita B'Alam Hazam the Torah. He gave it over to Yaakov. He gave up to the Chayra. So he was dishonored on himself over the fact that his Yitzhak was kind to him, and he wasn't able to be silent on his Yitzhak. So he gave him the Yitzhak and walked away.
It's a very good word. It's a very good shot. I hear it. I never, it's an interesting insight.
I don't know. I have to work on it.
Okay, very good. Work on it. Sei gesund, Hatzlacha.